story time on how I made my first $5,000 as a content creator living in Nigeria. If you're a content creator, you want to watch this.
Now anything that you want to with big, you can ask around. And anything with my name on it doesn't touch the ground.
Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Buki. If you're new here, thank you for stopping by. I really hope you do subscribe. Please subscribe. And if you're an old subscriber, welcome back. On the channel today, it's going to be story time on how I made my first $5,000 as a content creator living in Nigeria. If you're a content creator, you want to watch this. So I'm really not sure why I am sharing this, right? But I just feel like sometimes you need to encourage other content creators, and it's just been on my mind to share. So I'm not overthinking anything, because this might actually be helpful to someone out there who is probably in Nigeria or in a part of the world who has been consistent, has been creating, and kind of like feels like no one is watching, no one is looking. Yeah, I just wanted to share my own experience. So make sure you watch this video till the very end. To start off with, if you're new here, my name is Buki. I am a medical doctor, a public health professional, and also a digital content creator. So I have been creating content professionally for almost 10 years now. Started out on Instagram, then I have a blog which will be 10 years this year. And to God be the glory, I've had the opportunity to work with a couple of brands, right? And I've lived across 3 continents. So content creation for me started in Ukraine. That was where everything started for me. Then when I was done with medical school in 2016, went back to Nigeria. But even before then, during the holidays, like summer holidays, I would always go back to Nigeria. And then when I finished everything I wanted to do in Nigeria, I left Nigeria for the United States in 2021, January of 2021. But I got this partnership before I left Nigeria for the US. I'd also like to mention that when I started out content creation, right, it was strictly fashion, because I'm like a fashion babe. Love to put colors together, I love to put outfits together, combine colors and doing all of that stuff. But along the line, right, I just felt like there was so much more I had to offer, right? And just didn't want to put myself in a box or niche down like people always say. So I decided to explore other areas lifestyle, but it was mostly fashion and beauty, and then skincare as well. And thank God I have great skin, and I'm someone who really loves to care for her skin, pamper herself. So I just said, you know what, I'll do skincare as well, I'll do beauty, and I'll do fashion. While in Nigeria, I had the opportunity to work with a major skincare brand like Nivea. I was on the billboards, it was such a big deal to me. I wasn't paid in dollars working with Nivea, but I've also had other opportunities, where I got paid in dollars working for other brands, but it wasn't as high as $5,000, right? So earning in dollars wasn't from this brand that paid me $5,000, but I'm explaining this, or I'm saying this just to because I'm getting somewhere. Now let's talk about this brand that paid me $5,000, right? So when this brand reached out to me, the lockdown had just been lifted in Nigeria. They are a big brand, an Europe-based brand, and they were looking to break into the Nigerian market, or would I say the African market. And of course, as the giant of Africa, they had to start from Nigeria. So they just reached out to me. I had been doing skincare content, but I remember at that time they reached out to me. My followers were saying, oh, skincare content, I just be posting stuff on my Insta stories, and from other brands I had worked with as well, other skincare brands I had worked with. But when they reached out to me, I was like, oh, hey, how are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. We're looking to get into the African market. I wanted to start with Nigeria. We're just hoping. And this brand, they create skincare products and also tools for skincare. What I say, machines. I don't want to mention the name of the brand, machines, exfoliating tools, all of those things for your skin, basically. So when they reached out to me, that, they wanted to break into the Nigerian market, and we're just hoping if I was open to collaborate with them, and they're just going to send me a free product and probably just see how Nigerians were going to react to the product. And at that point in time, I was just you know what, for some reason, before then, right, I was kind of like trying to filter the brands I was going to work with. I mean, I was already working with brands like Nivea, like not just random brands. Like I wouldn't be able to work with just random brands. Because also as a content creator, you have to, pay attention to these brands and you won't just say yes to every brand. For some reason, like I just kind of knew that I had to work with this brand. Like I wasn't sure why, because I'm like, number one, I was already prepping to leave Nige. Like I wasn't even accepting free gigs at that point in time. But for some reason, like honestly speaking, thank God for the spirit of discernment. I was like, oh, you know what? I'll just like, work with them. They should send me the tool and I was going to work with them. But I said I was going to try out the product first or the tool first. If I liked it, then I will share it with my audience. And that is how it should be, right? So they sent it to me, like it didn't even waste time. They delivered to my address. And when I was even creating the content, I had used it for a bit. I was like, okay, I liked how it properly cleansed my skin and how my skin felt after. When I even filmed this content, I was at my friend's house. Shout out to Lade. Lade helped me film the content, right? And I just posted, like just showing my basic skincare routine. Like it was as basic as possible. And my followers liked the content. And that was I just went about like, my day, my business. And then 6 months after, so I think they actually reached out to me before the pandemic started, right? So 6 months after, I'm just home and then I get an email like, oh, hey, Buki or Rebecca, right? My first name is Rebecca. Yeah, you guys might not know that my first name is Rebecca. Hey, and that's what I use like for like, work, emails, except for brands that just reach out and say like, Oluwabukola, because Oluwabukola is the name on my Instagram profile. So they reached out to me 6 months after. Like, hey, Rebecca, we like the content you created the last time. And this time around, we would love to have a paid partnership with you. So when I read the email, I was like, okay, this brand I did like free work for, a free job for before. Now they're reaching out for a partnership. And then they listed the deliverables. So deliverables are basically things you're supposed to do for the brand. And they just needed 3 things for me. 2 articles like on skincare and a feed post, an Instagram feed post. And they were asking what my budget was. So I think it was at this point when they asked for my budget, I was like, one thing said, oh, say 1,000 and they were going to pay me in dollars, right? So I was like, oh, 1,000 because I had not made, that much, especially being in Nigeria, right? I was like, okay, maybe I'll say $1,000. My spirit just said, don't say $1,000. Instead, ask for their budget. Guys, it is very important to have the spirit of discernment. And even as a creator, you always have to ask God for help, right? So I just paused for a bit and my spirit just said, ask them what their budget was. Lo and behold, I reached out to them and asked what their budget was. And they said, oh, for 3 deliverables, we're thinking $5,000. I was like, huh? I was like so shocked. And I was like, I feel like I even screamed Jesus because I'm like $5,000 and I was going to say $1,000. I was just going to sell myself short. See guys, rounding up with this video, I'm going to share lessons learned from that experience as a content creator. And I was like, Jesus, like, I mean, there should be room for negotiation, right? But the truth is, I didn't want to like scare them away, and they were offering me like really good money. I'm not saying content creators in Nigeria should not earn in dollars. I'm not saying content creators in Nigeria do not deserve to earn as high as $10,000 and all of that. But that was going to be my first major brand that was going to pay me in thousands of dollars. So I was like, you know what? I was going, and they were serious, right? And I was like, you know what? I was going to do the job for them. So I was like, oh, you know what? Let me think about it, Of course you do. Not necessarily shakara, but of course you won't just agree. But like, oh, you know what? You're trying to build a long-term partnership with them. So that's the reason why, you'll be able to do this, blah, blah, blah. But thank them again, for reaching out to you. And that was how everything was settled, signed, sealed, sent my contract and everything. And at this point in time, I was like, prepping to leave for Nigeria. Up till today, I'm still very, very, very in shock. One of the things, like one of my deliverables was to create a video to post on Instagram talking about how to, and thankfully, because I had used their tool before, that was what they really wanted me to use again in my video. And basically they wanted my professional, like my expertise as a medical doctor. And guys, you know what? I feel like it was full circle moment, for me. And it was just like one thing led me to that. I don't know how to really explain it, but like, I think it was just meant to be, right? Because how is it that when I finished from medical school and I was in my house job, I was put in the dermatology clinic, right? And honestly speaking, when I resumed that clinic, for my internal medicine posting, I disliked that clinic. Like, I really did not like the department, and in dermatology clinic, you learn about acne, you learn about things that have to do like, women, in fact, men as well, like their skin. We're even carrying out like, procedures and all of that in the dermatology clinic, right? But I like dermatology. I like everything that has to do like, with aesthetics, your skin, how you look. And I feel like if I want to specialize, I've talked about it in my last video that's, maybe not my last, but when I talked about non-clinical career, like, pathways for medical doctors, right? Like aesthetic medicine or like dermatology is something like, I would consider, because I feel like there's a reason why I am in the beauty industry. There's a reason why I am a beauty creator. Like, I believe like it's all part of like, my purpose, right? So I was like, okay, what are the odds that I was actually in dermatology clinic, right? And I actively participated, like, in procedures, just being attentive, even though I really did not like the departments initially. But by the time I was rounding up in my program, I was like, dermatology might be something that I might consider, right? And they just basically wanted me to talk about, like, why it is important to cleanse your skin as a medical doctor and also like a skincare babe. Also, guys, they asked me to write 2 articles, and one was also like why it was important to cleanse your skin and like talking about the tool, like my personal experience. I can't remember what the last, I think I remember what the last one was, talking about acne and hyperpigmentation, particularly in women of color. And these were things that I had experienced. Like, I had managed patients with acne and hyperpigmentation. And then the articles, I am a blogger. I have been writing, like I mentioned earlier, my blog is going to be 10 years this year. So I have been writing. So it was just like, you're a medical doctor, you already know about skincare, you worked in dermatology departments, you're a blogger, you write. And it's just like, things I love to do, things I am passionate about are the things they actually want me to do for this campaign. I was so excited about this because it was like me just being in my elements, talking about like, some things I am passionate about, skincare, talking into the camera and letting people just know that, she's a medical doctor as well. She can actually talk and just letting them know the importance of cleansing their skin. Guys, the video I filmed before I left Nigeria, obviously, I filmed and, when I was done, like went straight to the point. It was 4 minutes long. And I was like, oh my God, who's going to watch? They approved, they said the content could go live. I sent the blog post. I made sure I completed all my deliverables before leaving Nigeria. And the video was 4 minutes long. And I was like, oh my God, like, who's going to watch a video 4 minutes long? Like, I was worried. But one thing you should know about this is that when God gives you something, it has gone ahead, right? The visibility, whatever it is you need to execute that project or what he wants you to do per time, God has already made provision. I was worried. I was scared because I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm such a perfectionist as well. I didn't want this to flop. I was like, oh my God, like, and this is like a global brand. Hey, all of this stuff. But I did it, and then I posted on Instagram. But I didn't post on Instagram in Nigeria. But I signed my contract. I did everything before I left Nigeria. And then when I got to America in 2021, January 2021, and they were like, oh, the post could go live. Of course, I didn't tell them it didn't even really matter, right? I didn't tell them. I just posted normal time. Guys, that video currently has over 10,000, 11,000 plays. The comments, people just like, oh my God, doctor, more of this. Oh my God, beauty with brains. Oh my God, my doctor. I was just like, people responded to that content. Like, I was just like, Jesus. And I was like, I should actually speak more, And people just like, you're so eloquent. You're so this. Oh my goodness, my beauty doctor. Like, God. I'll probably just put a picture somewhere or something. But like, the video did exceptionally well, basically. The brand was happy as well. Like, feedback was great. They loved the articles as well. Everything just made sense. Like, I was just replying comments and I was like, Jesus, I was just saying thank you. Because I'm just like, wow. Like, it was just me educating people and just also showing another side of me outside of, the beauty or the fashion, right? Just wanted to share lessons learned. And I feel like this is like the most important part because I'm like, this is for content creators just to, encourage, right? The first lesson is when it is your time, it is your time. Like, I know people always say this, right? But when God is said to do something, like you won't even know, because the way everything even just happened, it was like fast, like they were sure they wanted to work with me. It wasn't like, are you interested? Like, would like to work with you, right? Would like to move, or like everything just happened so fast. Like when it is your time, it is your time. The second lesson I learned is that even as a content creator, you need God. Like you can't just make random decisions, right? You always have to commit your plans into God's hands. Imagine if I was just leaning on my own understanding, or I was just, too forward. And sometimes you have to pause, right? You don't just jump at all the I'm sorry, I'm being dramatic. Well, you don't just jump at all the opportunities that come to you. You have to sit back. Like when a brand is reaching out to you as a creator, it's because they value, they see something. It might even be something you are not seeing yourself, right? They see something that they know you can offer value. So you have to sit back and be like, okay, does this brand align with my value? Which is very, very important to me. Like, for example, a cannabis brand cannot reach out to me and I'm like, oh, yes, because they are, and this brand's like, they might pay so much money. I'm like, oh, yeah, because they are paying so much money, I should work for a brand that sells cannabis. It is not possible because it doesn't align with my values as a person and then my brand as well, right? So sometimes money is not everything. But in this case, this particular brand aligned with my values, like with my goals as a content creator, as a medical doctor, as a beauty creator as well. The third lesson I learned from this whole experience is that people are watching. It might not seem like that, or it might feel like, oh, are people even seeing my content? Or people are not engaging with your content, or you don't even know if your content is getting to the right audience. Trust me, like those will need your services, those will need you to like create content for them in the future. People are just watching. That's another collaboration or a collaboration with another brand also showed me this, and this is something I've always known because I've had the opportunity to work with a couple of brands, and I'm just like, how did you guys find it? Just showing up and being consistent, right? Is very, very important. And this also like brings me to my next one, which is you have to stay consistent. Like you have to stay top of mind. I don't know how to really explain this, but like imagine if I was posting today, then maybe after 2 months I'll post again, or after 3 months I'll post again. Like it would just show that I know life happens, right? But it would just show that maybe she's not even serious. Maybe the brand might not even trust me enough to like actually create content for them. So people are watching and you have to stay consistent. That also brings me to my next point, which is preparation meets opportunity. Like you showing up consistently. And then in my own case, like, I'm creating beauty content, learning as a house officer, like being in the dermatology department, knowing how to write blog posts and writing blog posts. In fact, as someone, I was doing blog posts on a weekly basis, right? Just building how to like write better, like, researching certain words like to use for my blog posts and everything. So like preparation meets opportunity. So you can't just be doing things anyhow. Like you have to take content creation as a business. So you have to show up how, how you want to see yourself and how you want people to see. So you have to be serious because it is business, especially if you're thinking of doing it to make money and doing it long term. Next lesson I'd like to share is sometimes you have to do free work. Honestly, like I know when you're just starting out, like so many content creators, you want to just take a lot of free work, like opportunities. I did that as well when I was just starting out. And I know that it gets to a point where you're like, I'm not going to do free work, right? But that's where the spirit of discernment comes in. You have to pray for God to help because you never really know what opportunity or where the breakthrough is going to come from. Because the truth is, imagine if they reached out to me, or when they reached out to me and they're like, oh, want to like send you like our products, just to try and see. Because obviously we're trying to like test to see what people, like if people are going to like their tool. So imagine if I've said, oh, I'm sorry, at this point in time, I'm not open to unpaid partnerships, blah, blah, blah. It probably would have like put them away or put them off, right? But I had to do the free work first, build a relationship with the brand and build trust with my audience as well. I kind of like how everything went because it was like the storytelling was perfect. My audience had seen that I was even using the tool. So when I came to now talk to them about like why it is important to cleanse their skin, like it made much more sense. And that's why, for brands, I think that when working with influencers, don't just think, oh, a one-time thing. No, you have to like work depending on like what products you're trying to like push out, right? you might need to work with the influencer to just tell a better story and make the campaign really on point. Third lesson, which is very important, is do not just put yourself in a box. Basically, do not niche down, like saying, oh, it is fashion, it is fashion. Imagine if I had just been doing fashion when God has committed so many things into my hands. I am quite multi-talented, right? So imagine if I was, so that means if I was doing just fashion as I was, like when I started, right? I wouldn't be their target audience, because obviously they want someone that is also in the beauty, space, someone that also like talks about beauty, that talks about skincare, right? And that is very important, because even being here as a creator in America here, like some of the brands I've had the opportunity to work with, I've had opportunities to work with, like, skincare brands and all of that, like, but lifestyle as well, like there's money in lifestyle. Do you understand? So if I was doing just fashion, brands don't really pay like that. For the most part, they probably want to like invite you to shows or send you some clothes, or whatever it is. But like, you have to try to like diversify your content. I'm not saying you should be all over the place, right? But like, this might not work for you, but it's something like I really believe I had to learn, from this whole experience, that you cannot just be doing one thing. And it's not like you only know how to do one thing, right? You can function, you can create beauty content, you can create lifestyle content, you can create skincare, and you can create fashion content. So that is it. The last lesson from this whole experience is location does not matter. God can bless you wherever you are. Honestly, like God can bless you like with something major, because sometimes like, oh, influencers in the United States, influencers in the United Kingdom, they're the ones that make all the money and all of that, blah 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 blah. But I'm sure when I made that money, I'm sure some influencers in the US self, like they probably have never made that amount of money. So like location is not a barrier. Like when God wants to bless you, when God wants to do something for you, it doesn't matter whether you're in Africa, it doesn't matter whether you're in Europe. Like, do you understand? You can't tell me like they're when I worked with this brand, obviously they had European influencers. They had, even much more bigger, influencers they could have worked with in Nigeria. But they decided to start with me, because even after me, and also that they work with like some other like, celeb. I'm not really sure why I'm sharing this. Like I said, this is not to show off, because on a normal day, I don't like to talk so much. But right now, when I get the nudge, or when I have, a feeling to post or share something, I really believe it is meant for somebody, and I will just go ahead to share without overthinking. I could be an overthinker sometimes. I'm just like, for people think I have money. It's not like I have money in Jesus' name, but like that was just something that happened. That was like how I made my first 5K as a content creator living in Nigeria. Yes, I got paid my money when I got here, but every other thing, like, creating the content, sharing with the brand, for approval, everything happened in Nigeria. Thank you so much for coming to the end of this video. I really hope it was helpful. And you know what? If you have any content creation or content creator related questions, please let me know. Or if there are specific topics you will need me or you want me to talk about. Like, I'm not a pro, but I mean, to a large extent, I have been creating for like actually more than 10 years. I only started blogging, I think 10 years ago in 2014, right? But prior to then, I think maybe like when I got to Ukraine in 2010, in 2011, or maybe 12, that was when I started like, my fashion. Of course, I have evolved so much. Fashion has evolved so much, it keeps evolving. So there has been like so much growth, and I'm thankful for this journey so far. I'm looking forward to like the numerous opportunities, the major gigs, paid partnerships with like other international brands, even outside of the US. Thank you so much for watching, and see you all in my next video. Bye.